What's the first thing women notice? Your face. That's why you got to take care of. Simple things like getting a haircut, grooming your face, and brushing your teeth is important. But there's one thing guys miss and that women always notice. It's when a guy isn't taking care of his skin. That's why I'm so excited to have Intergenerational as a sponsor of today's video. Intergenerational simplifies the process of taking care of your skin. They provide you with all the products you need and nothing you don't. Seriously, I don't think some of you believe me when I tell you how much implementing a quality skincare routine will improve your confidence in all aspects of your life. I recommend you start with the level 1 system, which comes with all the basics: daily face wash, exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer with an SPF 20 and a PM moisturizer. But and to make it dead simple for you guys, they provide an instruction card in every box that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. But because TJ is sponsoring this video, they're offering you an amazing deal. Just click the first link in the description and get 40% off your first skincare system and free gift. Plus, as a member, you'll get 20% off for life. By the way, one of their new gift options is a silicone body scrubber, which is a $20 value and a complete game changer. Once you use this, you'll never go back to a regular loofah ever again. So don't wait any longer. Click the first link in the description to start your skincare journey today.
What's going on, family? How you doing? Welcome to King Talk. Before I introduce the crew, we got Mr. Trev Smooth, Lord Sherm, Chicago Outlaw, D'Angelo, Kenny P, me, myself, and the PJI. Welcome to People Let's Talk. I'm sorry, King Talk. What's going on, y'all?
What up?
How y'all doing?
What it do?
What it do?
Peace to the fellowship.
What's up, fellas? What's happening?
Same old
Chilling,
same.
man.
Another day in the paradise, man. It's good to see you, gentlemen.
Likewise.
All right. So to get the housekeeping out the way, man, shout out to the sponsor, T-Shirt, complicated skincare for men, 40% off along with a free gift. And if you become a member, you get 20% off for life. That link is in the description, so make sure you guys go ahead and click that. What's going on, Bruno? How you doing? As you guys come in, hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I want to thank everybody that's not in the chat as well. And if you are catching a replay, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you hit that like button as well. We got a great show here for you guys. Main topic is your partner choice reveals everything, the hidden cost of ignoring trauma. So we do have a clip for that. But before we do have some news that broke a little bit earlier. It's an icebreaker. I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip, man. So apparently Nancy Mace and Jasmine Crockett had a little exchange today. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the first part of it, get a little bit of dialogue, and then we'll go ahead and get into it. Are you guys familiar? I know I asked that question before we started. D'Angelo, are you familiar with Nancy Mace and Jasmine Crockett?
No, I haven't heard this story.
Okay, you haven't heard of it. Okay, what about you, Kenny? Anybody?
Nah, that's new to me.
Oh, damn. So y'all, I mean, I know y'all seen, because she is kind of controversial when it comes to politics. She has made some noise. So I'll play this clip and then we'll go ahead and get into it.
Is this 5? Mm-hmm. Any further members seek recognition?
Mr. Chair,
Chair, recognize Ms. Crockett.
I have an amendment at the desk.
So there's 5. Will the clerk, everyone has the amendment. Everyone has the Crockett amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please report the amendment?
An amendment to the rules of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform for the 119th Congress is offered by Ms. Crockett of Texas.
Without objection, the amendment is considered as read. I reserve a point of order. The gentlewoman is recognized for 5 minutes to explain her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During the 118th Congress, Oversight Republicans disbanded one of the most important subcommittees in Congress, the Subcommittee on Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. And now in the 119th Congress, the chairman and House Republicans have decided to prioritize the demands of the real president, Elon Musk, and his billionaire friends over the needs of the American people. Now, we are about to approach the birthday of Martin Luther King. It's actually tomorrow. And on January 20th will be the inauguration of Donald Trump, but it will also be the observation of MLK Day. And the fact that we have decided that in this country we are not going to honor civil rights should be something that we all take issue with. Considering the fact, for some that don't know what civil rights are about, because some people only believe that it deals with black folk, let me explain. Civil and political rights are a class of rights that protect individuals' freedom from the infringement by governments, social organizations, and private individuals. They ensure one's entitlement to participate in the civil and political life of society and the state. Defined another way, the right to be free from discrimination, the freedom to worship as we choose, the right to vote for our elected representatives, the protections of due process, the right to privacy. If any of that sounds familiar, it is because these are rights that are born out of our Constitution, something that we all supposedly have sworn an oath to, and we swear to not only, we don't just swear to it, we are supposed to protect those rights. Interestingly enough, we just had the funeral of one of our beloved presidents. And I caught a flight to Austin on the day of the funeral. And I had the honor of sitting next to someone who was a little familiar with the White House. That person was Lucy Baines Johnson. And when I tell you that she is a wealth of information, I really mean that. And when we had an opportunity to talk about what she experienced as her father was president during a time in which, honestly, our country was on fire, and I would argue that, unfortunately, our country is on fire right now. When I first ran for office, I ran for the State House and said that we were in the midst of a modern-day civil rights movement, and I have not been convinced otherwise just yet. But this is the daughter of the president that signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. She was also there when he signed the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And to be perfectly honest, without that voting rights, I don't believe that I actually would have a seat in Congress. And so I do believe in preserving the fact that everyone should be entitled to real and true representation, because I do have a Section 2 seat as our Voting Rights Act has been decimated. But one of the stories that she told me was that her father asked her about coming over to the Congress for the signing of the bill as it relates to the Voting Rights Act. Now, for her, it was a bit inconvenient as an 18-year-old to have to leave the White House and go over to Congress. And she asked her father, why should we go over to the Congress, Daddy, to sign this particular bill? And she said, we need to go over to the Congress because we need to pay due respect to those members of Congress that knew that voting for this bill meant that they would not be returning to Congress, but they had the courage to do what was right for this country and make sure that everyone's voices were going to be heard. The one thing that we could do, the very small thing that we could do, is have a little bit of courage and decide that we are going to reinstitute this particular subcommittee, because unfortunately, I don't see the type of courage that the people that served back in the 60s had coming out of some of our colleagues. And so I'm asking you to do the courageous thing today and just institute a subcommittee that would make sure that we are looking out for those protections of everyone in this country, to make sure that we have real freedom, something that we all supposedly espouse to believe in. And with that, I will yield.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady's time's expired. Any member seek recognition?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins? Oh, Ms. Mace was first. I'm sorry. Ms. Mace.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I don't know what's going on today. I find it extremely rich and offensive. So we're talking about civil rights. I'm the former ranking member on the Civil Rights Subcommittee, something I believe in civil rights and civil liberties of all Americans. And we were talking about infringement of individual people. Also, quote, the right to privacy of individuals. Coming from a party that can't define what a woman is and won't give women the right to privacy. You all want men with penises, chicks with dicks, in the bathroom with us. You want women to be forced to undress in front of men in the locker room and in dressing rooms. And it's so hypocritical for you to sit here and say and be, screaming from the rooftops about the right to privacy and civil rights when you don't respect women. And you don't respect women who've been raped, women who are victims of sexual abuse. And you want me, a victim of rape, a survivor of rape, to go into a locker room and be forced to undress in front of a man? You have to be effing kidding me. So I don't want to hear about you talk about rights, individual rights, civil rights, because you can't find the courage from the 60s to fight for women all around America, fight for women like me, every single woman. And as a rape survivor, I shouldn't have to explain to you why women have rights and why women, when we're in the bathroom, when we're in the locker room, when we're in a dressing room, why I don't feel safe when there is a man nearby. And the fact that we're going here and we're going to say all these things is the ripeness of hypocrisy on the Hill. People need to tell the truth. And if we're going to talk about the rights of individuals, we have to talk about it. Everybody has rights, including women. And at some point, men are infringing on the rights of women. We just had it today. We just had a vote about protecting women and girls in sports. And I believe it wasn't one. It was two people from the Democrat Party who voted to protect women's rights in sports today. Two. So this is, Mr. Chairman, this is a deeply offensive conversation to me today. We want to talk about real freedom. Women have freedom in this country. Women have the freedom to go to a private women's only space and not see a man in it. Women have the right to change and not be feared that somebody with their sexual perversion, someone who's confused about their gender.
What?
We have the right to feel safe in these spaces. We have the right to know that we're not going to have trans people filming us in the bathroom. How many of these trannies are taking selfies? These men are taking selfies in women's spaces, in the bathroom. It's gross. It's disgusting. So if we're going to talk about civil rights, let's talk about the rights of women in this country and how you are stripping them away every single day. And you're doing it in your legislation, you're doing it in your messaging, you're doing it on X. You're making women feel unsafe in this country. And you're making the opportunity for women and girls to be raped, to be sexually abused in this country even greater than they've ever been. So don't come over here with your attitude and talk to me about rights when you're trying to take my rights as a woman, a rape survivor, away. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Any member seek recognition? Ms. Stansberry.
All right. First part, man, it went left, and I'll play that clip momentarily. But what are you guys' thoughts about what you was just witnessing there?
Hey,
man? Go ahead.
I'm gonna keep it real. First, I was lost. I didn't know what the hell old girl was talking about. But I'm gonna keep it real. Miss Mace came through with that fire, dropping bombs on your moms. You know what I'm saying? Like, get out of here with all that stuff. Y'all know I ain't playing, man. Get out of here with all that old. She was just babbling. I'm like, what is this chick talking about? Then Mace came in there like, hey, all these men chicks with dicks, and I ain't heard that one in a long time. He said it proudly too. I'm like, okay, let's get it. Now we talking like we should talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm still lost in the motherfucker, but you know, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna stay watching.
Yeah, like, but was Crockett initially talking about trans people, or like, what rights was she talking about initially?
She was talking about all rights for women to have abortions, and she felt the opposite side was not in line with what the constituents and the people need. And Mace took offense and said, "How dare you? Me being a rape victim, me opposing abortion, but leaving it open where the government doesn't control it, where women of incest and rape have the option, but the other ones that freely go and get pregnant and use that as a deterrent from being a parent, she's against it, playing to the heartstrings of the people, being that she was raped at 16. So she has a hill to stand on, and there's no pushback there. She speaks very aggressively. First woman to graduate from the Citadel in 1999. So she's one of the boys. And she speaks like that when she's up and representing the Republican Party. I do agree with in part of what she's saying. I think that's the one pushback I didn't give any of the brothers, that we got to normalize what biologically is true and not let a country of people wishing to push an agenda force us to live the illusion that other people wish to abide by. So that's what I got from it, because it was kind of like wishy-washy at the beginning, but the majority of what she was doing was yelling. Some of her points were correct, but that's like a rap battle in Congress.
All right, let me get your thoughts, D'Angelo. What do you think?
Well, they've been pushing this narrative for years now. I've always just felt it sort of strange.
I can't hear him.
You can't hear me?
All right, try it now. Let me see. Go ahead.
Hang on.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I started off with what I was saying is they've been pushing this narrative for years now, trying to push this agenda for transgenders, and it's just come off extremely odd. Like, because there's a fine line. I believe there's a fine line. Yeah, some people believe that narrative that they were born in the wrong body, but then there's that thin line of the weirdos and the perversions of a scary, dangerous individual, of a man being around women that way. And I totally agree with women that it's terrifying, because women aren't like us. They can't sense danger in a way we can, like to feel so unsafe in the world that's meant to protect you. It's just, I couldn't imagine how they really feel. So, it's odd to me.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Trev.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with what I guess Miss Mace was talking about. I don't think that it was necessary for all of the inflammatory language being the setting that it was. I understand her passion, but I think it was a little bit over the top, and sometimes you have to understand who's witnessing it, and it could take away from the message when you speak like that, right? I think that she knows better to articulate herself a lot better, right? I get the passion and everything, but no matter what, once you are in a certain position, right, then you're expected to conduct yourself in a certain way. And it can be off-putting to a lot of people right? That being said, I agree with all her points. Some of us just have to understand, like, it's always worked a certain way forever. And then now all of a sudden you expect everyone to be comfortable with this new change, right? And a lot of us have daughters, man. And you have to understand that I honestly don't believe that most people who are of that lifestyle want to be predators and things like that. However, there are plenty of people who are pervs and who are um, ready to do something nefarious, can go under the guise of pretending to be a person of trans, and then be able to do what it is that they want to do. So you just have to understand that. I think it should be cut and dry. It shouldn't be that. Whatever you're born as, you probably should use that particular restroom. I don't see like why you feel like you need to use a woman's bathroom in the first place. Like I don't get that part. I mean, I understand maybe you feel like you were that, but you can't force everyone to be comfortable with it, right? I don't have any hatred towards anybody who lives a certain lifestyle, but we don't want it to be infused into our lifestyle. And a lot of people, that's the part that we have to understand, right? I want to just go on my daily life without having to worry about that, right? I don't want my children to be exposed to things like that. That's just how I feel about it, right? You can do whatever you want to do on that side, but stay on our side with that. That's just how I feel about it. I don't think it should be put in our face, right? I think that just in everything now, like you can't even watch some of your favorite TV series right now. They started sneaking it in. Oz got out of control, and then you start seeing it in The Wire and stuff. One of the main characters, Omar. I'm like, why they had to do that to homie? Like I don't want to see that all the time. There's plenty of times where I have to like leave. I'll leave. I'll turn the TV off, walk away, because I don't want to watch that part. And then I'll tell my wife, hey, just tell me when it stops. And then I'll come back in when it's safe. You know what I mean? And I definitely don't want my kids watching nothing like that. And now it's just being infused in more and more things, even children's shows. That's a problem for me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Trev. I'm one of those old school people. I only recognize man and woman. And if it's your life, and if you decide to live it how you want to live it, that's cool. But trying to force things that's outside the norm, I do believe that there's a baseline that the world operates in, and if people were to identify with anything, right, then why aren't a lot of people identifying as dogs and snakes and all that stuff? They decide to want to identify with an opposite sex. I believe that it's more so a choice. I don't know how it feels, but I'm just thinking if everybody was just running crazy, hypothetically, and identifying with everything, then why aren't those put into the play? It's just only man and woman. So I just don't like to see it from my kids. I plan on raising my kids a certain type of way, and that's that normal baseline that the world has always, for the most part, operated in. And I just don't want to see it. I don't want to have that. But unfortunately, we have to have these uncomfortable conversations with our children, because these are the standards and principles that I set forth for my house. And so when you go out into this world, and the world's going to always be changing, where the root lies when it comes to how we operate. And so that's just how it's going to be. I'm not going to accept anything else. Go ahead, Sharon.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm just keep all the way real, bro. Like, there are some transgenders that operate and look exactly like women, to a point where it's like you damn near can't even tell, if it's just passing you by. So then I'm like, sometimes I'm not sure if they're talking about them, or they're just like guys that's trying to walk around and, looking like cross dressers or whatever. You know what I'm saying? There's a fine line between the transgender and a man walking around in a wig, and there's a man that, that goes to my gym. You can clearly see it's a man, but he's dressed, like a woman. But then there's also, a trans. I know it's a transgender, but it's like the transgender is walking around operating exactly like a woman. So it's like there's no way that transgender could go and walk inside of a men's restroom because he or she whatever was born a man. It's impossible for that to happen because if a guy sees that, he's gonna be like, "What the hell?" So it's just like, where do we draw the line? I do understand people's sentiments, but then it's just like, I feel like these days, bro, we are so far beyond what we think this is that it's kind of like shit. It is what it is at the end of the day. They're reconstructing their face, breaking bones in their body, doing all that they can to look like a woman. And it's pretty intense, some of the stuff that I've observed. So it's just like, I don't really know what to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we kind of just gotta, we're too far. Like these people start when they're children, blocking their hormones. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't even, like they don't even have a chance to develop breast. And I personally have a distant family member that transitioned from a woman to a man, and it's just like they grow, beards and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And my homeboy said at his job, he got caught up with one that has a beard and he had no idea. Like, there's no way. If somebody's growing a beard, walking around talking, I mean, the voice always gives it away. You know what I'm saying? But it's just kind of like, man, that might just be a dude with a light voice. So I do understand, the old school way, but it's like the way that is going, it's just like, fuck it, bro. It is what it is. Like they'll cut off their penis, and make it exactly into a vagina. And you're going to say a chick with a dick when they're cutting their dicks off and creating a vagina out of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, we so far gone that I don't even really care too much about this topic like that. It's just like, what can we do? If your kid decides to do something, you can't even stop them these days. It's just like, shit, how you going to stop it?
Shit.
I mean, you can't do nothing, bro. It's
out
so
there,
far,
you can't.
Bro, it's so far beyond. And maybe because I live in LA, in the area where it's like, I'm not too far from West Hollywood and all that stuff. So it's like, I'll be shopping and then I'll hear somebody talk. I'll be like, what the fuck? The voice always gives it away for me. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, that is, by the way the eyes could see, that is a woman. Until it says, hey, do you need any help? It's like, oh shit, damn. You know what I mean? So I just feel like, shit, bro. Hey.
Hey,
like if somebody cut their dick off, bro, I'm like, shit, you dead ass serious. You know what I'm saying? If a woman is taking testosterone so she grows a beard, I'm like, oh yeah, you dead ass serious want to be a man.
But for me, I think people do anything that they think is the right thing is if they have mental illness. You know what I'm saying? Mental illness would send you to do all kind of shit, like what you just said. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really just a form of mental illness, and what we're doing is pacifying it by giving all these, putting all these laws around it and making it okay. Everything is not okay. We need to start, like I always say, bring shame back. No, you can't just do what the fuck you want. That's the problem. Everybody think they take that land of the free too literal. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, bro, we can't control what anybody else decides to do. And I feel
but we should though.
No, you cannot. You cannot choose for anybody. And
you should be able to set laws. Like, I mean, so in China, they just said it where transgenders can't be on television. They can't, you know what I'm saying? They said it, they can't be on television. It was something else. And it was like, that's some steps that need to be taken because the shit's out of hand. If you are going to rule your country a certain way, you need to have some laws and some standards. And that's the problem. All that shit has gone out the window. That's why it's so reckless now. We have no standards. Everything is okay. And that's the problem.
All right, go ahead, Hank.
I mean, everything don't have to be okay to you. That's the thing. Like, as long as we control in our environment, our households, that's the only thing we could initially control. What happens outside of it, bro, it's kind of like you can't really do nothing about that. Like people gonna do what they gonna do.
That's the problem, because no standards are being set. You know what I'm saying? You're saying that now you can only control in your household, but then when you go up to your kids' school and they got Mrs. You know what I'm saying, Mrs. Steven, you know what I'm saying, reading to your kids, you're gonna be looking crazy as hell because they don't set no damn standards. That's mental illness. But I'm done. Hey,
Well, yeah, well, the thing about it is our country doesn't have a standard, so we're not gonna be able to hold them. Because the politicians, their sons and their daughters are the ones who's crossing over. The ones we rely on to help pass these laws, they're not gonna be willing to do it because it's gonna affect their sons and their daughters. So I don't expect none of this to change. It's gonna get worse. So the only thing I think we need to do is educate our kids. You know, reach and teach our kids, our families, and our kin folks who we can out loud put hands on, who we had some type of say so over, because it's not going to get better. But I just want to be honest. I think we're at the end of times. The way the weather's going, the elements, the climate, the fires in California, the cold weather coming through on the south. Yeah, these may be the end of times, and seeing what's going on and what is allowed to happen. Let me say this: get right with the Lord. That's all I'm gonna tell you, because it's a lot of craziness. But as far as what you saying, Lord, it's coming. It's coming. So, like I said, you got to educate your kids. Talk to them. Have a conversation with them. And it's bad that we have to do this even on an elementary level. That's the sad part, man. You got to explain to your 5-year-old daughter or your 5-year-old son why these two men are kissing and holding hands in the park. You know, in the park with the kids around. They trying to play and have fun there and they being innocent. But now you got to explain that situation. I couldn't imagine. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, I had to. You know, my son had an issue once he learned what gay is. He said, "Daddy, are they gay?" And it wasn't even a situation with a gay, but it's just, you know, a woman was helping another woman out, but she had arms around her. He just assumed she was gay. I said, "Man, look, you can't just be saying it like that." So we had a little thing was he would spell gay backwards. He say, "Are they YAG?" I knew what he meant. You know, my ex-wife knew what he meant, but they didn't know what they meant when he said it. They just saying YAG, and that's what he would do to explain himself.
That ain't a hard code to decipher, though.
No, it's not. It's not.
I don't think,
you know,
I don't think that was secret. G14 classified.
You know, that's what we had to do. You know, because he everything he seen that he thought was questionable, Daddy, I think they YAG. So I'm saying to him, man, that's not what that is. No, you good, man. Don't do that. Don't just throw it out there, because like you said, you can get yourself in trouble. You know, with just saying that, and you might offend somebody with that, and it's just unfortunate, because y'all know what we used to do back in the days, man. When somebody did some shit to question, oh man, you gay. That was a thing. That's
the
what
F word.
We just said.
The F word was my favorite word.
But,
now
you know,
I'm a bigot.
I ain't gonna say that, but you know that's a different concept. But that's what we did. Now it's like, you better not do that. You better not say that. And like I said, I multiple times every year we having sensitivity training meetings at my workplace. Talk about, you got to recognize them by the pronouns, and you need to call them by the pronouns if that's what they identify as. Even though they may not got the full change, they still haven't got the full surgery, or they haven't made no name changes. If they want to be acknowledged as that, that's the case. Even kids in the schools, if they want to identify as animals, the teachers have to identify them as the animal that they say they are. This is crazy. I would never thought about this in school. There's no way we would have. Man, you sound crazy. That's just what it is. I'll leave it there.
All right. Let me go ahead and play this clip, Marcus. I know we played the first part of it, but I'll let you chime in first on the second one.
I don't don't even know how we got there, because I tried to make it clear how many civil rights, it doesn't just boil down to one conversation, but I can see that somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all to tell me whether or
Do
not.
not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have.
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
Order,
am
please.
reclaiming my
Let's go.
time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a child.
I am
not a
reclaiming
child.
my time.
If you want to take it outside, we
Mr.
can
Chairman,
do
the
that.
committee is not
Okay,
in
all
order.
right. Order.
Point of order.
Order. Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett.
No, point of order, Mr. Chairman.
State your point.
Is it allowed in the rules for a member to incite violence against another member? I mean, she said she wants to take it outside with.
Hey, I have the First Amendment right too,
And
young
so
man.
I'd like
First
those
Amendment
words
right.
to be
I'm not
taken
gonna be a
down.
child.
I
I'm
am
not gonna
moving
be
to have
called a
those
child
words
by
taken
any of
down.
you.
I believe it's against the rules to
Going
incite
outside doesn't
violence
incite
against
violence.
another
You have a
member of
conversation that isn't.
The committee will
interrupting this
suspend.
committee.
The member will state the words he wishes taken down.
where she said that we can take it outside, which is direct violation against the rules, inciting violence against another member.
What rule? What rule? Cite the rule.
How does that incite violence?
Mr. Chairman, there are, if I might point out, Mr. Chairman, there are decorum rules in the House of Representatives.
And the two parliamentarians are discussing this right now. We'll suspend for a second. All right. The chair's going to make a rule. What the gentlelady said was, we can take this outside if you want. And
Okay, so-
that could mean you could go outside and have a cup of coffee or perhaps a beer, or, I mean, we have
Seriously,
lots of conversations outside. So I'm going to rule that it was, just
that it's okay.
that it's okay.
All right, and then point of inquiry.
And remember, this is a slippery slope you're going down, because we have.
Oh, you're
disagreements
going
in
down
this
the
committee,
slippery
as you
slope.
know.
So just to be clear, in this committee, we can ask, we can threaten violence on someone as long as
no,
at
that's
the
not-
end. Excuse me.
I did
long
not
as at
threaten
the end-
violence.
Excuse
I
me,
threatened no
excuse me.
violence.
There was
I
no
threatened no
There
violence.
was no violence.
As long
no
as
violence.
at the end.
Don't create a
I
false
threatened
had a
no
question
violence.
that was
None.
over
None.
another
You're
person.
making shit up as
It's
you
good
go
to know.
along. You
Good
might
to
want to
know.
figure this one out.
Order. There was
I
no
thought you were
Chairman.
cursing today.
no violence.
Mr. Chairman,
No violence.
I'm going to appeal the ruling of the chair.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm gonna
Chairman, I have
appeal the ruling
a
of the
point of
chair.
inquiry,
State
and I
your
apologize because I had a meeting and came right down. Is it true that Ms. Mace was belittled by being called a child? Is that against our rules?
What?
I would have to look up the rules. I don't know that it's
I'd like to
specifically
appeal
in the
the
rules. We
ruling.
asked for
Well,
proper decorum.
can we strike
asked
it then?
everybody
I'd like to have it
along.
stricken.
Okay. Now, there's
I'd have Ms.
there's a,
Crockett's word stricken then.
there's a motion. You have a motion, Mr. Frost?
I move to appeal the ruling of the chair.
There's a motion to appeal the ruling of the chair. Chair recognizes Mr.
Then
Gosar.
there's also a motion to strike words, Mr. Chairman.
I move to table, Mr. Chairman.
There's a motion.
Motion to take down words, sorry.
There's a motion to table. The motion is not debatable okay, the motion is not debatable.
What?
All those in favor of, okay. We're going to vote on the motion to table.
Come on.
To table Mr. Frost's appeal. So the motion is not debatable. As all in favor of Mr. Gosar's motion to table Mr. Frost's amendment or motion, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the
Mr.
ayes
Chair, I
have
ask for a
it.
recorded vote.
The motion is agreed to. A recorded vote is ordered. The clerk will call the roll. We have to do that right now. Clerk will call the roll. Would the clerk report the tally?
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 22, the nays are 17.
The motion to table passes. Now we will go back to debate, and I believe it was Ms. Crockett with 2 minutes and 57 seconds remaining.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Mr.
motion.
Chair, I actually had more time than that, but
Mr. Chairman, I
I
have a
can
quick
finish
motion.
up in the 2:40.
Chairman, I have
I
a
was-
quick. Mr. Chairman, I have a.
We'll give you 4 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick motion.
Oh, Chair recognize Mr. Donalds.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move to structured debate for 15 minutes on Ms. Crockett's amendment.
Motion and second to structured debate for 15 minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No.
No.
Motion passes to limit debate to 15 minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'd ask for a recorded vote.
Really?
Come on.
All right. The clerk will the clerk will call the roll on Mr. Donald's motion to limit debate to 15 minutes to each.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman. Are we in the middle of debating this motion?
The clerk will get her remaining.
It's Democrats that were pushing for the Equal Rights Amendment, and I don't recall any Republicans supporting us having the Equal Rights Amendment. I also want to make it clear that just because someone fantasizes or wants to be dramatic about the idea of someone could be a quote unquote man in a locker room or in a bathroom. I've yet to hear an actual testimony of someone who, for whatever reason, has experienced this in real time. But I can tell you some real numbers and some real facts, because I don't like to live in fantasy when I'm talking about how I'm going to govern for the American people. The facts are, in my state alone, in the state of Texas, once they decided that they were going to overturn the Roe decision, 26,000 women then ended up raped. 26,000 is what we had reported. And that was only within about a year's time span. And when they reported those rapes, none of them seemed to have anything to do with trans folk. And I don't recall any legislation to help out those women in Texas and beyond that are actually dying. We're not projecting may die, but are actually dying or have died in southern states that have decided that they wanted to go after our reproductive freedom. So as a woman in this country, as a Texan, and as a Black woman who, when we look at the numbers, and I believe in data and science, and I know that that escapes a lot of people in this chamber, but the numbers are clear that specifically Black women have always struggled when it came down to the maternal mortality rates in general. The fact that somebody who looks like me, no matter how much money they have, because I can remind you of a very wealthy tennis star that almost lost her life while trying to give birth. Some things I honestly just don't think should be partisan. And frankly, I do believe in privacy, because honestly, I don't want none of y'all making decisions if I ever end up pregnant and have to decide what it takes for me to save my life. And I give the same opportunity for other women in this country to make decisions as they see fit. So while we look at how we protect women completely differently, I can tell you that at least in the 766,000 women or 766,000 constituents that I represent, I have had them come to me concerned about whether or not they could survive childbirth. But I have not had a single person in my district tell me that they were concerned that they may be raped by a trans person. So if there is an issue to solve in this country based on facts, data, and statistics, I think that we need to look at the type of health care that we are going to advance for women in this country. And with that, I will yield.
Gentlelady yields back. We're going to now go into the 15-minute cap.
All right. That's the last part of that video. Go ahead, Marcus M. White. What do you think?
I think that the Democrats have a strategy of not doing anything and finding the most extreme social causes and latching themselves on that to run with the progressive narrative. So the two things that they kind of got pushed in the forefront because they physically really wasn't gonna have to do anything except take a stance on the position was deletion and like the LGBTQIA rights and that type of stuff, right? So those issues are because they don't want to do anything substantial. They don't want to like actually make real change to a policy. So they conflate marginalized groups with people who have a historic history in this country and try and lump us all in together and push for the fight they feel they can win, or that's the most minuscule. Jasmine Crockett, she the mouthpiece for the Democratic Party right now. She won between her, AOC, and maybe one other person. I would maybe Gavin Newsom if they push it for her. But she's just gonna parrot the talking points. I've seen her on countless TV shows doing this, and I'm just not jacking that shit. Like I'm not standing with the stuff that she that she, somebody say what's IA? I think it's intersex and I forget the other one, asexual. When you say what's the last LGBTQI, it's intersex and asexual. Yeah. So the other thing I thought was interesting is the freedom of speech argument when they was talking about the use of the word child and the use of we could take this outside. So the American language is really it's very nuanced, it's contextual, it's tonal, and it's a lot of things that go into that. So we all knew when she said we can take this outside that she meant to fight. And we all knew when she said child, she wasn't actually calling that lady a child. She was saying it as like a euphemism of how people speak. But those things can be contorted in the you called me a child and I didn't mean to fight. I just was saying we can go outside and have a Danish. You know what I'm saying? But we all knew exactly what it meant. It's just interesting to me how different ways you can intentionally misunderstand in American language. Like it's real. Like this one of the most nuanced languages that I could ever understand. But yeah, that's my thoughts. But yeah, she wrong. Oh, and it was a trans prisoner that raped like 2 or 3 women and
Got them pregnant and all.
got them pregnant, yeah, and all that stuff. So that's but for them to say that's not a real thing. I've seen countless episodes of like spas where they have women only facilities, and they've had trans people come in there, and it was actually boycott lines and pickets behind this stuff, and the trans people start fighting with them. It's all type of stuff going on with that. Is it a pressing issue where it's on every block? No, but if your child walk into the locker room and a pre-op tranny is sitting there with their dick hanging out, or that shit is sexual harassment, and that shit gonna end violently for a lot of people. Like, don't be playing about their kids. It's simple as that. Just let everybody be free until you start affecting somebody's kids. Then your ass gonna see really how people feel about your issue. Yeah, that's what I got though.
You on mute, JR.
My bad. I was asking Kenny. I say he's making some face expressions. What you thinking?
We go back to the root of how this started. Where do they get their talking points from? The provocateurs on a whole that got these people these rights were white Republican women that reached down in the ghettos and other places and said, sisters, let's lock arms and get these people their rights because they're marginalized just like us. So they co-opted women's struggle with homosexual struggles so that they could be fortified and go out in masses. So it started on the red side. And now that we're here, they're babbling in Congress. And, the white girl got spunked. She want to take her outside and shoot the fade. And then we playing the word semantics right there. At first, I do agree. There's biology, man, woman. There's not 72 plus genders. We can get that straight. I'm not against men that believe that they're women with the illusion being in the same bathroom with people with kids. That's unacceptable. But we're not going to stand here and just do the party thing if you know the root cause of where it came from. And Mr. Henry Gaber, Chicago, was the forefront of this movement. If you look back, I don't want it to be co-opted as Miss Crockett not doing her job, just like a prosecutor and a defendant, a prosecutor and an attorney working for you. You're going up there to do your job, present your points. You can easily rebut my points, not threaten to beat me up because you don't agree with my points. Now, if that's what we want in public office, people that lack civility, I thought that's where we were going. Nah, I'm not having no bag of that. Mace's points are valid, but when you're challenged, you should be able to live up to the position that you have, not threaten to beat somebody up because they have offended you with mild colloquialisms. I rest there.
Anybody else got anything to add on there?
This is a conspiracy theory, but 26,000 people raped the day after. Was that what she said, or shortly after? I don't know. That shit seemed real fishy.
She said within a year. Within a year.
Okay. Well, I'd love to see the rape statistics. The rape statistics before that, and if that actually had as much to do with it, or I wouldn't even. You know what? I wouldn't even put it past the people who are staunch advocates from filing like false reports. I ain't gonna hold you, just so they can. People really care about this stuff. They really was acting. But yeah.
Well, either of them ladies married, because I saw Miss. I didn't see Mrs.
As a matter of fact, I did research that. So Nancy was married twice and got a divorce, and she has 2 kids. Miss Crockett,
Curtis Jackson.
huh? Yeah, to 50 Cent. So then,
not 50.
Yeah, but she was married to Curtis Jackson. Crockett, I see nothing about her being married or anything about her having kids.
No, that was my first thought.
To me, that's like that was my first thought too. And then I researched it and I was like, oh, okay.
All right. Look at that segue. Look at that segue, Lapeef.
Now it's making sense to me.
Right. Yep.
All right. Let's go ahead and get into this main topic, man. If you guys just tuning in, hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Welcome to King Talk. I have to talk about your partner choice reveals everything, the hidden cost of ignoring trauma. I do have a clip, man. I'm going to skip to a few parts of it. So this first part was how to choose a right partner for long-term happiness. So I'll bring this up and then I'll skip to it.
This guest is.
Let me get to it.
May be valid, but there's so much more to it that is unconscious.
Yes.
And then in any successful relationship, the task of the relationship really is to make that unconscious conscious. Because what we all want is freedom, but there's no freedom without awareness. So if I'm unaware of all these things that are motivating me, how can I talk about being free?
You do believe that's true then? Who we choose as a partner is one of the most important decisions of our life.
Well, it's the most important decision we ever make, you know, and again, it's the one that we're very often the least conscious of all the factors that go into it.
Yes. Does that speak to, because I've seen you talk about these 2 needs that we have, one being attachment and one being authenticity.
Yeah.
Could you explain that? And also, I recently interviewed Will Storer, who wrote phenomenal books, one being The Status Game.
Yeah.
And he talks about, he also sees a need for status as well. So What's your thought in terms of those two needs, and do you see status also as an important need for us?
Let me talk about attachment, authenticity, and come back to status.
Okay.
So, in the book, The Myth and Normal, children are born with certain needs. Now, one of the essential needs is attachment. Attachment being the drive to be close to somebody for the sake of being taken care of, or to take care of the other. So the essence of the attachment drive, not just in human beings, but in all mammals, and even in birds, is so that the young vulnerable one can be taken care of by the more mature adult one. So the adult has a attachment instinct towards the vulnerable infant, and the infant has an attachment need towards the adult, so that the caretaking can occur the way nature intended it. So now the attachment drive stays with us all our lives. It's never as dire and as dominant and as definitive as it is in childhood, because you're never as vulnerable and helpless and immature, but it stays with us, so that as adults and old people, we still have an attachment need. We're just human beings. We're wired for attachment. So that's clear. But we also have a need to be ourselves, to be authentic, which means to be in touch with our bodies, to be touch with our emotions, and to be able to act according to the truth of ourselves. Now, very simple example, gut feelings.
Let's go ahead and get into it, man. So that is Dr. Gaber Mate. You guys heard of him? Are you familiar with him? No. Okay. So I know he talked about choosing a person to be with. I know he don't like to say partner, but I mean that's what they was saying. But choosing a person you're gonna spend the rest of your life with is one of the most important things. And then he also talked about how the childhood attachments shape your adult relationships. So let's go ahead and just get a little bit into it. I like these conversations because it kind of pushes our thoughts outside of what we normally talk about. Because a lot of these things, like one of the things we always say is that date who likes you or be with who likes you, right? If they don't like you, then you probably shouldn't be with them. So I do think that when we are picking people or we are dating, there are some things that's missed often. And I think that men overlook. You know, since it's King Talk, we talking about men. They overlook a lot of different things, and they may have a higher chance of having a successful relationship. And if they so choose want to get married, having a better chance of having a long-term marriage. So let's talk about that childhood attachments and how it shape your adult relationships. Whoever want to chime in first.
Yeah, I could definitely see how obviously the childhood attachment shapes that. And I also see not only the attachments, but the different things that you may go through as a child. Maybe the lack of, seeing, someone treat somebody right. Let's say if you didn't see your father treat your mother right, then you may think it's okay for you to be treated incorrectly or what have you. So that helps shape the type of relationships that you do see. You also have situations where the way you grew up, let's say you grew up with multiple siblings, right? Depending on your birth order, that could have a strong indication on how you're going to be in relationships. So picking somebody, based on that it can definitely be detrimental, or could work in your favor. So it's a lot of different scenarios, but I think it's really based on if you know what you want and knowing how to go get it.
All right. Anybody else on that?
All right. So I think that choosing a partner is very important, but I didn't agree. I saw that the doctor corrected him and said it's the most important decision in your life, and I can't say that for everybody. Let's just take people who take people of importance. Like if you say Donald Trump, how many times has he been married? 3. So his partner probably didn't change his life path very much. He still was going to do what he was going to do. Elon Musk, very important figure. You see how many companies he's running, what he's doing. 3 times married, right? And I think if he had 2 more wives, it probably wouldn't make a substantial difference in what he's going to do with his life, in all honesty. So I think it depends on you as an individual. There are some people who are more, you have your codependent, and then you have your people who are interdependent. Now, I do agree with the section where they say that what type of person you are as far as your childhood, what you've been through, that absolutely is going to shape and mold what type of a relationship you're going to have in the future. But it's important to examine that, right? Because it's not cut and dry. There are some people who didn't receive any affection as children, but they might grow up to need it all the time because they missed it. Or there may be people who just adapted and said, you know what, I really don't need that because I'm just used to not having it. It feels weird to me to be affectionate. So you just have to look at things like that. It's important to examine what type of person they are. And I always tell people, before you decide to get serious with someone, you should probably meet their family, see how they interact with their family, right? See how it goes in their family. If you don't like what's going on, if you see there's a lot of bitterness and people aren't they're not fluid together, then that's probably what your relationship is going to look like. It's important to make sure that particular woman that you would choose in your life is going to have respect for her father, and that a father was in her life, because that's pretty much how she's going to see you. If she doesn't value men because she never saw a man in her life and really saw no use for him, and probably heard from her mother how horrible the dad was, then she's gonna value you just the same. Oh, I don't really need you. I could do this by myself. Or watch my mom do it. And a lot of us find ourselves in that situation because we don't pay attention to those type of signs. We'll more so be looking like, damn, she a baddie, or damn, she got that gawk 3K or something crazy, where we enthused by that more so than we are about how the family structure is. So depending on what type of person you are, it could really make you miserable, because you have to understand you're gonna wake up next to that person, go to bed next to that person, vacation with that person. You know what I mean? When those quiet times, you're gonna have that person in your vicinity. So you just really have to examine it. I don't think that us as humans, especially today, take the time for that. We're more so in the age where a lot of people just are concerned about, do we match aesthetically? Could we be some type of a power couple or something weird like that, rather than are we compatible? Does this person have the same type of moral compass as me? Do we have the same type of values? Do our religions work together, or lack of religion work together, right? But is this person messy and I'm not? Certain things that'll just really wreck your relationship. What do they think a good sex life is? Are they vanilla and I'm off the hook? Do they think twice a week is cool, twice a month is cool, and I'm like, nah, I need a couple times a day? It's a lot of things we just got to really examine that we don't, and we ignore. I'll let somebody else, right?
So Trey, let me ask you a question, because it sounds like you didn't agree with him that your person's the most important decision. But then, well, let me ask you this: are you agreeing with him that the right person is the most important decision? Or are you disagreeing with him?
No, it's not the most important. I'd say it is very important. I said why I think it is important. It is very important, right? But not the most important thing, right? Because again, there's nuance to it. It's not like cut and dry. Some people, depending on if you're codependent, interdependent, it might be more important to you because you need that balance from the other person. But some people function just fine as individuals. And then I gave the examples of some individuals who I felt like really wouldn't matter what type of partner they had.
So, okay. So, and that's what I thought. So, but you sound like you was giving a case where it should be. Now, I do agree that it is. And the reason why has been, look, if you can find a good woman, you better hold on to her, fellas. Hold on as long as you can, because ain't shit out there. because a certain woman, man, can encourage you, uplift you, really motivate you and push you along further than you ever thought you could. Now I know as men, we want to think, oh well, no, it wasn't nothing. She ain't had nothing to do with bullshit. Because we know that woman could speak confidence in you. Where everybody else thinks you crazy, I don't think it's gonna be successful. It could be all 8 of us up here say, man, Trevor, you crazy for doing that business venture. But you know what Mrs. Trevor would be saying? Don't worry about what them guys saying. They just jealous. You do what you can. I know you're gonna do it. And she'll speak that and then have you running through a goddamn wall. The right person. It also is going to affect your family. Because it's going to determine on what type of kids you got. That right person. If she's got some mental issues, like you said, you going over the in-laws' house or the future in-laws' house, and you notice those things and you still marry her anyway, yeah, that could affect your kids. Because she could pass down them crazy-ass mental genes, them crazy-ass standards and ways, and pass them down to the kids, and now your kids influence. Now your kids can go out there and do some stupid and crazy shit that could affect your name and your legacy. So yes, I think it is probably the most important decision. Because if you make the bad decision and pick the wrong woman, she can definitely cost you your mental, financial, and emotional stability.
Even your
Everything
life.
about that can cost if you don't find the right woman.
Go ahead, Law. Were you saying something?
Yeah. I was just saying it could even cost you your life picking the wrong one. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's on it. So I agree with the point about your early childhood or how you observe. I can't say for everybody, but for me, I kind of like trying to spot patterns in people and associate behaviors with things I've seen in the past. So, like for me, when I was growing up, my uncles, they was all married. I seen some of the way that they would speak about the way their relationship panned out and how they would interact with the women that they married, right? And I'm like, damn, I was against marriage because I'm like, all these women is crazy. According to them, women is going to be acting like this, according to them. And then I start seeing the pattern, like, wait, you picked a woman who does this specific thing or who thinks this specific way, who thinks argumentation is a valid form of communication, or who thinks nagging is showing you love, or who finds it cute to be like who thinks it's cute to be argumentative. Like there are people out here who think that's just a way of flirting, or that's a way of like relating to you to say some slick shit. Like you people may have laughed in the beginning or may laugh, and then now down the line, that shit's a huge issue. You just like, oh, that's just how she is, or that's just how he is. I'm like, hell no, I don't want to deal with that shit. As soon as I notice, like I noticed the trend, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just not gonna fuck with no woman like that. I'm just gonna stay clean away from this and make sure that I vet for certain things that they told me about. I got the experience firsthand account. They telling me every day. I get to listen to why they mad about the shit. It's a real simple fix. Okay, well, just don't find a woman who feel like getting back or she got to get even with you is in her operating system. Like it's real simple, and you'll be surprised how the getting even with you operating system is also a feminist operating system. Because we need to be right here on the same level at all times. So now it's tit for tat. Now you bleed into the I'm a nag you and talk shit to you because I feel like you got one up on me, so I can even the score, so I can fight you in this power dynamic. All those things is gonna result in you having a relationship that's real fucked up. That you unless you are somebody that really enjoys that. And for those people, I ain't got no, you know what I'm saying? That's your life. I ain't mad at you if you actually do enjoy that. I'm just not one of those people. I despise that type of shit. Like I truly do. So I just avoided those type of women. And now when we had a conversation, I'm like, no, I don't got that problem. Everything cool. And they still talking about the issue. And I'm like, man, they could have just fixed this. But it didn't bother them enough for them to say, yeah, I'm gonna avoid that type of woman completely. Like, just write her ass off. You don't have to deal with nobody. Like this shit ain't see somebody you ain't related to. You can get her, like, man, replace that person. But yeah, I agree. If you take the lessons, then your childhood can either affect you positively or negatively. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you got to be paying attention.
All right, go ahead, Sherman. I know you were trying to
I
get in
mean,
there.
also some people are just addicted to trauma and drama. So it's like, say what Marcus was just talking about. I mean, I know people that talk to me about their female problems that they have with their spouse or woman or whatever. And I said, and now I'm thinking like, do y'all enjoy this shit? Like, I feel like you just want to talk about this. Like you want to talk about a problem and you're so used to talking about problems that you just want to let it linger. Cause I'm like, hey bro, put your foot down, tell her this, tell her that, like solve the issue. You do not have to keep this recurring cycle of issues going on. And I'm just like, you know what, man, at the end of the day, I feel like because of the lack of attention that some people got growing up, or the lack of love, or the lack of self-confidence, they just love any type of attention that gets their blood flowing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, because I personally had situations with women where it's like they thought I was cold-hearted, or this or that, because I wouldn't feed into their drama with them. And it's like, if I'm not yelling at you, acting dramatic, or trying to shake you up or put my hands on you, I must not love you. And I'm just like, I'm just not that type of guy. Like, I'm not going to deal with that, and then I started to realize that, when I look at the history of these women, they were in foster care, they went through like traumatic and dramatic childhoods. And it's like, they want to go back to that moment where it's just like, it's kind of, I can't understand it because I never really even been in that. But I feel like if they don't feel that, then it's just like, this must not be real love, because the only love I felt was like drama or trauma or something of that sort. So I agree with all of you when it comes to going back and looking at how someone was raised and going through their history and figuring out if that's for you. Because I'm not going to say just because somebody went through trauma and drama that they're not a person that can be loved. They might not be the right person for you. And then somebody else might love that and want to cope with them and help build them up and help them get out of it. You just have to have the mental fortitude to want to do that for that person. Be honest with yourself, because some men could be like, just what Hink was saying. Hey, baby, you could do this. I'm going to help you, believe in yourself, that. And some guys are like me. I don't need anybody to tell me anything. I'm a self-starter, goer, whatever. I don't need a woman in my corner telling me you could do it, baby. I don't need none of that shit. I was not raised like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if the world was against me. I'm gonna go out there by myself with my spirit, and all right, I'm me. I'm by myself. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna say that, another man may not need that. I just know that that's not for me. Because some people go, like, say in my marriage, I can't relate to everybody, because it's just like, look, man, I've been knowing this person since 2006. They've been knowing me for almost 20 years. Like, we really know each other. So it's like the issues that you go through, I can't even relate to. Like, I don't know. You're basically getting to know a person that you married. You know what I'm saying? Me and her is like, do y'all argue? No, we don't. Never. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're problem solvers. She's a psychologist. Like, there's no emotions or none of that. It's just plain black and white, and that's what it is. But then we actually just had our 7-year anniversary yesterday. So I was just thinking about, our patterns.
Gang.
Yeah, thank you. And stuff like that, right? And I started to think like, maybe this is working because she grew up with a stepfather that was in the Air Force, military man. My father was in the Army, military man. And we grew up in very structured households. So it's like the way we operate is very structured. We work together. We work in tandem. Hey, you throwing the stuff away, I'm picking it up, putting it in the trash. We don't even have to talk about it. We already know what to do. You know what I mean? But it was just a blessing that I'm able to deal with somebody where we were raised in similar kind of ways that is totally different from the majority of people, but it works for us. You know what I'm saying? So I just say, look, man, if you don't find somebody where it's like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it just has to be a match. You know what I mean? Like, we live two totally different lives. We're not codependent on each other. We love our space. I love that she's over there and I'm over here. We love our time apart. But some people have to consistently be together and do everything together, or there's no relationship. So for everybody out there, man, you just got to find what works for you at the end of the day.
All right. I know
they said you say.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know we talked about trauma just now, and so he did speak on what is trauma and how does it affect you. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this.
I only have you for a few more moments. I want to look at trauma.
Yeah.
Because everything that you've mentioned here, the answer is go back to childhood.
Yeah.
So let's look at.
If I may interrupt.
Sure.
Go back to childhood, but look at the large social context in which that childhood takes place.
Okay.
Because you can't separate the individual from the environment.
Fair.
Okay?
This is fair. First, how do you define trauma alone?
Yeah.
Because I've heard different definitions.
Sure. So that's an important, I mean, it's one of these words that so much depends on what we mean when we use it. Like if I use the word God, so many people would understand so many different concepts. So we ought to, I mean, for some people, God is the universal ground of all being and meaning and purpose and existence. For others, it's an old guy in the sky with a beard, So, so it all depends. Now, trauma, in my definition, is very simple. If you look at the word origin, it's a Greek word for wound or wounding. So trauma is a wound that hasn't healed.
Okay.
Which also means that trauma is not what happens to you. Trauma is what happens inside you as a result of what happens to you. So, I sustain a blow on the head, that's not the trauma. The trauma is the concussion that I develop. Because that's the unhealed wound. Okay. So, there are traumatic events that can wound people, but the trauma is the wound itself that hasn't healed. 2 people break their legs. In one case, the leg doesn't heal. That's the trauma. If it heals, it's not a trauma. It's just a painful experience.
All right.
So not everything that's painful is traumatic. Everything that's traumatic is painful. Not every stress, not every pain is traumatic. If it doesn't heal, it is. And I'm talking now psychologically.
Okay.
No.
So it must be unhealed.
It's the unhealed. So it's the unhealed wound, and then our attempted defenses against the unhealed wound. So, for example, unhealed wound in one case might be that they perceive themselves as abandoned in childhood. That's not the wound. The wound is not that my mother gave me to a stranger. The wound is that I therefore came to believe that I wasn't lovable. And that's what I'm carrying. And then I have my defenses against not being lovable. One of my defenses against not being lovable is to try and make myself perhaps powerful and unassailable, grandiose.
Yes.
And then I go into politics.
Then I run for president.
I'm stopping right there, man. One of the things that I do a lot of is observing when I'm on these panels, and I know we always talk about women, but there's some men that come on these very panels that have trauma. They have a lot of trauma, and I'm not a professional, but you can just tell in the dialogue, you can kind of tell, and if you really hear the backstories of a lot of people, they typically say that they were hurt. And a lot of men that I see have all of this anger and energy, they've been hurt by women. They've been hurt by women and they haven't healed. And so some of their responses that you see is because that they haven't healed. But let's talk about it, man, because the trauma, he said, is within. It's not the actual painful experience. It's what's happening within as a result of that painful experience. Anybody can go ahead.
I don't know, man. A lot of people might think I might be insensitive to a lot of that, but I feel like people just kind of vomit trauma about anything. They call everything trauma. You know what I mean? I feel like it's kind of an excuse. Like people just call everything trauma, and I'm just not really into the whole, everyone has trauma and everyone. I personally don't believe everybody has trauma. Now, and what exactly is trauma? He said trauma is what, a wound that hasn't healed. what? Your girlfriend when you were 16 cheated on you. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, man. Like, I don't know. I'm insensitive. Maybe I am. But my thing is, hey,
I mean,
keep
but
it
at the end of
pushing.
the day, bro, you can't really say how somebody is to respond to whatever they went through. Like, you might be like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna go find me another broad. I'm big outlaw. I'm gonna go to the mall and crack me one. But some people will probably be really hurt and take it by like, man, I wanted to marry this girl. I gave her my all. I gave her my lunch money. You just never know. Everything is perspective. Because because something may be light to you, it could be very heavy for someone else, and all of us are built different. So I personally do feel like everybody has trauma. I do have a podcast called Militant Grind that's based on mental health. And, I've interviewed people from all walks of life all over the world. And one thing I have learned is that you cannot look at somebody and understand what they've been through. And I feel like we're in a society now where everybody prejudges someone based off of appearance, how they talk, what they look like, what they drive, all kind of shit. And it's just like, until you have that one-on-one conversation with that person, you will never know. I talk to people that were victims of sex trafficking. You might look at her and be like, oh, she looks like a happy white lady. But somebody, put her in the room, didn't let her leave, and had random guys go in and have sex with her. But if I show you a picture today, you think that she lived a happy life and went to college and, got married, and it's just wonderful. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna just put it out there like that. I have learned personally to, how they say, never judge a book by its cover. Until you go in and you read that story, you will be shocked at what some people have went through, what some people conceal, and what some people just aren't willing to tell you that they've been through.
Well, you say you don't got no. Nah, I was gonna say, Law. I know for a fact that you got some trauma, bro. I'm gonna tell you how I know. Hold on, just listen. Can death be traumatizing?
You say what?
Can death be traumatizing?
Yeah.
Have you ever known a friend that got killed?
Yeah.
More than one?
Yeah.
More than 5?
I wouldn't say more than 5 that got killed, but that have died early. Yeah.
That alone, have you ever been around or in a shootout? Like around, I'm saying, not in the shootout, but like around when guns was going off and your life could have been taken.
Yeah, but that's, I don't know. Like I
Have
said,
you ever,
maybe I'm insensitive, bro, because it's just like.
Have you ever been in the car and the police get behind you and you clean and you still
now,
feel that feeling?
Now listen, that's trauma that I get. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing. PTSD, I guess you could call us PTSD from that. You know what I'm saying? But
That's PTSD is extreme trauma. Like, that's extreme.
But what I'm saying is everything ain't trauma. What I'm like everything ain't trauma, bro. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, I think we use it as the excuse for people to whine about shit. Like, sometimes we got to get over it and gotta get on that horse. You know what I'm saying? Keep it moving. But
well,
like I said, maybe I'm insensitive.
So no, I agree with you. I think that it's a coping mechanism that a lot of us adapt, right? Where we don't have the luxury of allowing these things to hold us down or to sit and wallow in it. Because like the saying go, I can't complain. If I could, who would fix it? Like, you either adapt to, I'm gonna fix my own issues, personality, or you wallow in it, and then it tends to stop you from being able to progress in any type of way. I like for me, my thing would be, I'll just retract and then fix my own whatever I'm going through. I'll retract, fix my issue, and then come back. I'm not really going to be dependent on nobody. I'm not relying on nobody. I got the same thing where I see somebody get killed, and then I just like, damn, that's fucked up, and then move on, and then just kind of like compartmentalize it, set it to the side, and won't be thinking about it forever. Like, something may bring it up. Like, if somebody walk in, I'd be like, damn, that's nah, he dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, it happened to me the other day. I was where was that, at T-Mobile, and a guy walked in, I'm like, damn, that's my home. Like, nah, his ass dead. You know what I'm saying? And that might be the only time it hit, like, damn, the homie gone. But then moving forward, I don't be thinking about it all day or in the house crying about it or any of that stuff. Like, But before I had my first child, I had not shed a tear or actually had really any emotion, like in general, since probably I was in 3rd grade. All up until that point, nothing. Then
That's
when
when
Nip
you.
got
That's
killed,
when you lost. Is that when you lost your
I
pops?
shed a tear for the
3rd?
first time in 3rd grade. My father died when I was in 3rd grade. So I shed a tear when Nip got killed, thinking about like, damn, as a father, like I fuck with the music, I be rocking but thinking about like, man, he got daughters and I'm about to be a father like that. I hate for my daughter to be going through this right now. Woo, woo, bam, one just in the shower, like a lonely one came down. I'm damn, what the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? And the compartmentalization of walling off any negative emotions, it got fractured with the introduction of children for me, because I really didn't care if like anybody really lived or died prior to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, people die, niggas die every day was kind of the concept that I was working under. And then with that, it was like, damn, okay, now I do got feelings about this specific thing. You know what I'm saying? And then I kind of like start looking back on like that's kind of like it's a coping mechanism to not always be. It's a coping mechanism to be detached from pain and detached from caring and detached from sorrow, detached from sadness and all those things. But when you step into a space where you have like an emotion, you're like, damn, maybe I should have felt some type of way about these other scenarios too that I kind of did not give a fuck about. And that's the trauma. By not caring is also a form of the trauma. You see what I'm saying? Because that scar, like all battles is internal, right? That's basically what he was saying. So my battle internally was I'm gonna fight all emotions. I just won't feel shit. But that is a response to trauma.
Yeah, and I feel like that could also have a compounding effect when you're just like, okay, this happened, I'm gonna keep going, I'm gonna ignore it, and you're not really facing the pain head on or letting out the emotion or whatever it takes to just be like, okay, I'm gonna take this scenario, understand it, really look at it, digest it, get my thoughts together and move on. But I feel like if we just keep ignoring how we feel just to be tough or let our ego or our chest sticks out, there's gonna be a time where you just gonna fucking snap. You know what I'm saying? You just holding on to all of this stuff. And it's like, that happened to me a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I don't drink. I will hold on to a whole bunch of stuff. And then as soon as I drink alcohol, I'm on. You know what I mean? Ready to fight, aggressive, but I was holding on to so much childhood trauma and not really like, going through therapy or talking with people about it. It was like, oh man, it happened. I gotta keep going. Fuck it. It is what it is. But it took me being an adult and a father and, basically trying to perfect the way that I want to raise my kids for my kids not to feel, the same way I felt when I was growing up. So I'm just like, look, man, in order for you to heal this, you have to face this shit head on because this is passed down from generation to generation. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, she told me before she passed how this, mental stress just got passed down, from her grandfather putting her grandmother inside of a mental institution and, growing up like it's just a cycle. And I was like, man, in order for me to defeat this cycle, I have to acknowledge it. I have to know what it is. And I have to face it head on and not ignore it. I have to feel that pain, let the pain seep within me, and then let it go. Now, today, I walk in the house, my children, daddy, I love you, giving me hugs and all that. And I can't remember one single time I have ever did that with my father. And my parents are still together till this day. You know what I'm saying? So I know for a fact that I have done the work, to defeat this trauma. And we think that, oh man, this is just, how it is or whatever. But it's different when you become, a man trying to raise children and you like, fuck, I don't want my children to go through what I went through because I know how painful it is. You know what I'm saying? I know what it's like. So what can I do to change the narrative? So I could be a better man for them and not try to act like everything's okay because I'm just me.
Yeah. I did want to add something, and I'm gonna play a clip because he said how many people are living with trauma. That was today. That was a question that he asked. But The thing that I notice is that it's a lot of people say that they not experiencing any trauma, but then in certain settings you can see where they're lashing out, things that are not normal. So even though they telling everybody else, "Oh, I'm normal," but when they are put in those situations, you can see that they are struggling with something, or that's just not how people typically operate, and they don't know how to shut it off. Go ahead. Who was
Real
that?
quickly, Gerald, a lot of us move in pride and ignorance. The hardest thing to say in front of a group of people and stand on your truth is say, "I'm not okay." For fear that they'll be shamed, ridiculed, felt powerless, and worst of all, let their peers who hold them in good favor weaponize their truth. Law, everyone has trauma. We can act tough about it. It could be 1% or 100%. We read the ISIS papers, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. We as people, since we got dropped on this rock, we move in trauma. We just normalize it. That's why we get numb when we hear gunshots and we see people scuffling, and we're cool with living under the poverty line, and we have the crab in the barrel mentality. We can point out so many things that we all grew up in, that if you looked at it holistically and logically, it's not healthy. And I say more or less, a lot of us get to the epiphany of, you know what? I need to move away from here. I can't be in this place. I need green grass now, because I realize the normalcy is not going to be good for my offspring lineage that eventually becomes your legacy. I think that was my first introduction to the show, when I admitted a woman broke me in two. Lost my house, everything. She walked away from me. Trauma. We can't do it ourselves. Had my therapy session 4 p.m. today. That's going to be a consistent part of my life. I urge more Black men and women, because I can only speak for us, to do it. Not just run to the Bible. Get a Nelson. Get some people that did their 10,000 hours to help you figure through some things. Shout out to Kenny, but I can't agree with him. Not everything that you could pray up to the rain gods and just figure it out with the family around you beating on drums. Respect it, though. I'll keep it short because I know we got to go on.
Well, I know for me, I spoke on mine before. So when I went through my divorce, that was traumatizing for me. Had to go to therapy for that. Not only that, but my father not being in my life most of my life was trauma for me. Like I said, even to the point I would be raged when I see some of my teammates in high school and in college with their fathers, and mine wasn't there for special occasions, award ceremonies, senior days, special events. I just hate it. And then I would just raid out and just be mad to the point. I think me and Marcus talked about it, how I was just so aggressive to the point, if it wasn't for having an outlet like football for me, no telling where I would be. And I still had to deal with that. And it wasn't until later on down in my life where I actually got therapy for that. So that was traumatizing. Watching my uncle pass away from being an alcoholic or drunk. Watching my one of my cousins being killed by alcoholic because he going to the mailbox and being drugged a mile down the road. And the guy didn't even hear us. Didn't even see us. Didn't even notice because he was so drunk. That's traumatized. That was traumatizing to me. Yeah, it's just something I had to deal with, right? And then there's different ways of different forms of fashion of dealing with. Like fortunately for me, I was able to get therapy for my issues of an absentee father, as well as going through a divorce. Some traumas I still deal with, like the alcohol thing. I don't drink at all. You know, last time I ever drunk, I was 14. I tried it. It didn't work out well for me. I was praying to the porcelain god. I said I'll never do this shit again. But it was traumatizing. But that's life.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Trey.
I feel like it's something that we all deal with, right? And we all deal with it in different ways. Now, I feel like we all have different strengths. Like as far as some people might be stronger physically, some might be stronger mentally. Like there's some people who are you might just be a genius at math. There's some people who are going to deal with trauma better than others. But I feel like it's important for us to understand that some people just can't deal with it in the same capacity as we can. And we should be sensitive to that. We shouldn't say, and I know that there are some people who abuse it and then just, just say that just so they have an excuse to be fucked up as an individual. But for the most part, we can discern who's playing around with it and who's not. And I've learned over time that just because I may deal with trauma a certain way and just brush it off, like Marcus said, it is a gift to be able to just put that away. And for some people, it's never going to catch up to you. Like it's just how you process it. You just move on and you worry about the next task. I've been doing it for decades now. So it doesn't, I don't deal with trauma the same that everyone else does. And what I normally do is I focus on the next task. I focus on, what's good in life. I focus on what I have to do, and I focus on how strong I need to be for my family, for my children, for people who count on me. And I direct that energy as positively as possible, right? I put it into work. So at any time, if I am stressed or something, I just get into my work. If I got to hit the gym, I hit the gym. If I need to write, then I'll write. But it's different ways of processing it. And to me, my work is my therapy. So I can get onto that and then just get away from whatever I need to get into to alleviate that. But I feel like we don't want to shame people who can't deal with it in that same way. Instead, we try to help them with productive ways to be able to deal with it. I try to coach people on how to deal with trauma and how you can, if they need professional help, I'll absolutely point them in that direction, right? First and foremost. But sometimes people don't have as much access to it, or maybe they're embarrassed, or they don't want to. It's a lot of reasons why people won't go seek that help. So what I try to do is I just offer constructive ways for other people to do it, because a lot of times we'll say things like man up and all of that, but not all of us are equipped the same to do that. Sometimes it takes a positive male example in your life for you to witness that. You got to have loving people in your life to show you how to deal with that. And a lot of us don't have access to that. And we have to understand that we're not all equipped the same. So I no longer view people who don't think like that as a weakness, right? You can't judge them. It might be a weakness, but you can't judge them like they're just a rotten individual or they're just a weak soul because they can't deal with it the same way that you could deal with it. I'd rather extend that help to them and try to offer some sort of an understanding for it.
All right, I'm gonna play a little bit of this clip where he talked about how many people dealing with trauma.
Or it might be that I try to be a people pleaser.
Yes.
And I try and take in everything and try and help the whole world while ignoring my own needs. So trauma is the wound, and our defenses against the wound that later on create more problems. So that's my understanding of trauma.
How many adults, what percentage of adults are living in trauma?
Well, in our society, I would say a large percentage, because we can be wounded in two ways. We've already touched upon some of them. Some of the ways we can be wounded is overt suffering, such as being physically abused or emotionally abused or sexually abused, or a parent dying, or a divorce where a parent kind of disappears, or a parent being jailed. Certainly racism, poverty are traumatic experiences for a lot of people, with impacts on the body, impacts on the brain. A parent being addicted, a parent being mentally ill, all of those things can be traumatic. But there's another subset of trauma that isn't due to bad things that were done to you, but the good things that were not done that should have been done. For example, your parents, if they had to go to work, they should have been alert to your sense of isolation and dealt with it. Now, they didn't mean to hurt you. They loved you. They, in fact, as you said, they adored you, but they didn't see you. And not being seen is a source of a wound, because that's the need that we have. We have this need to be seen for who we are as we are. Yeah, that's fascinating. So, in our society, because of the stress on parenting and the erosion of extended families, the loss of community, the increasing isolation, the tremendous pressure on parents, a lot of kids are wounded in loving homes.
Yes. All right, I'll stop it there because I think he makes a good point, which kind of makes you think about your children, right? I don't think that it's a possibility that when we leave our kids on these electronics, that they may have some form of trauma of isolation. Just think about how much little time you spend with them, because it's easier to kind of keep them occupied, and we don't really realize what we're really doing to our children. And even if you look back, right, at how we grew up, I'm pretty sure that I can narrow down some points where I can say it might have been some traumatic experience. Now, how I addressed it might be different from everybody. I appreciate the tough soldiers that's out there, the people that know how to grind it out and self-aware and able to get through it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it was not a traumatic experience. I had something similar like Hink, right? My father, he's Nigerian. He wasn't always present in my life. He was present when I was younger. And I remember a time me and my cousin went to the same school, and I remember my cousin father came to pick him up. And I remember how me and my cousin used to always go home all the time. And so I was wondering, I was trying to go home with him, and it didn't really seem like his father had a Corvette. His father was in the game, came and picked him up, flashy car, and it's really a two-seater. So I kept saying, "Hey, bro, you about to leave?" He said, "Yeah." His father just surprised and came up there. So I'm like, "Man, I can get in there." And so I did wind up getting in the trunk part. I'm in elementary school, so it wasn't like I was a teenager, but that was kind of like a traumatic experience because it made me think about how come my father never picked me up. And so at some point in time, I started to hate my father. I didn't want to, he would talk to me. Couldn't understand his ass with the heavy ass accent. He was talking like Ikene, no offense, but I'm like, why the fuck my father talk like that? I'm like, I can't understand shit he's saying. I was like, but then that's when I started. But then a few years later, I just wound up being able to had a conversation with him, and I just accepted who he was. But then I wanted to learn more about the other part of my family, which I never got a chance to. I think my father may be passed away. I haven't heard nothing from him in probably over like 10 years. He was always a private person, always called private. Never told me his whereabouts. He did tell me I had some brothers and sisters. But to kind of speed this up a little bit, man, I think it might have been a traumatic experience. Now, I chose to forgive and to get over it once I just understood what it was, because I'm a person that needed a lot of detail, and I know my mother was very difficult. It still made no excuse for him to be the man that he was. Maybe mom might have been part of a second family, who knows? But nevertheless, that's an experience that I could never forget, because it was a feeling and I couldn't really understand how to put it all together until I did get a little bit more mature. And it's some things you just accept. my mother was an alcoholic. I do drink sometimes, but my mom was alcoholic. I was left at home a lot, raising my sister, but I'm optimistic. So a lot of my negative experiences, I always try to find a positive in it. And I think it shaped me to be who I am today. So I was isolated a lot, and I was able to problem solve and figure a lot of things out on my own, which I don't wish on a kid, but I think I'm built differently because that's something that I've gone through. So I don't really complain a lot. I'm trying to find the good, and I appreciate the hard times because it toughened me up to be who I am now. So I do think people have some traumatic experiences. I don't like to make excuses. I mean, it is what it is. But I can appreciate the tough people, and then we got some people that are more weaker and can't handle the things. But I think we balance each other out, because when you are able to be tough, then at least you can help the people that's not as tough as you, or that is not as strong as you. So I like the fact that we can balance each other out in the world, and we do have these tough soldiers, but everybody ain't like each other. So you got some people that's strong and some people that's not, and all you can do is just really just get them a helping hand at that point.
I know one more thing that was traumatic for me was really he's my great grandfather, but I call him my grandfather. He passed of colon cancer. So I don't know if y'all ever hear me say, like, if we ever have like closing remarks, I say, black man, protect yourself at all times. And one of the things I always try to tell us, man, is get therapy. Get on somebody's couch or somebody's Zoom and get your mind right. But another thing is, I always tell a man of a certain age like myself and 56-year-old JR, go get your prostate check and colonoscopy. You know what I'm saying? You got to take care of that, man. Colon cancer is a motherfucker, man. I've seen it. I experienced the things he had to go through because of it. So that was very traumatic for me, because I always looked at my grandfather as that man. You know what I'm saying? He taught me he taught me how to be a man. Him and my uncle was the two most important men in my life. They really helped me along and gave me a lot of opportunities to grow up and be a man and make certain decisions and how to move, how to operate. You know what I'm saying? My uncle gave me that opportunity by coming to his barbershop sweeping, you know what I'm saying? And other guys that would come in there, other barbers and other men that would come in there, they would just pour into me. And I didn't realize it yet. I just thought they were just always just telling me what to do and telling me these old crazy stories. They was pouring into me, you know what I'm saying? Because my uncle seen the direction I was going, like I said, once his brother really stopped being around. So he really took me under his wing and really helped me out a lot.
Well, shout out them, man, for taking you up under their wing, Hank.
Right on.
Salute, Hank, for being so transparent.
Anybody else? All right.
I just wanted to ask how y'all felt about this sort of a trauma. There's something called it's a concept, but it's called
I believe in it.
Intergenerational trauma. Whereas basically the DNA is modified from the traumas that you experience as a person, and the theory is that it passes on to your offspring, so they would be prone to certain behaviors based on traumas that the parent went through.
I believe that 100%. And as a matter of fact, I'm reading this book right here called "It Didn't Start With You," and they talk about intergenerational trauma. And I guarantee you, if you read this book, within like the first couple chapters, it's gonna have like a wow factor for you. You know what I'm saying? And for me, looking at my children, I could see it, because when they get angry, it kind of reminds me of how angry I used to get when I was a kid. Like they'll be like, oh, like especially my sons. And I'm just like, oh shit, they're acting just how I used to act. You know what I'm saying? And I could see myself in every single one of my children, even though they're all different, but one thing that I have learned is that now that I can, I see it, I can identify it, I can help them with it. I can help them cope, because it's like, I know what you're going through because I had that same anger issue. So I'll talk to them gently. I help them understand logically. And then it's like, okay, it suppresses automatically. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as I see my kids getting angry, I already know if I come at them angry too, it's just going to make them angrier. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, I can't come at them angry if they are angry. I have to come at them like, hey, I'll put my hand on their back, settle down. Let's talk about this. What's going on in your mind? Then they'll speak their mind. Then I'll give them a different perspective on how to look at the situation, instead of, like say when I was a kid, I just got beat down. Like, you angry, I'm a pour fuel on the fire. And I know how that made me feel. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like, for me, I believe in that 1,000%. And the book that I just showed actually like solidified that for me.
Yeah, I 100% believe in intergenerational trauma or epigenetics. And I think that nature proves it to you. Like giraffes didn't always have long necks, right? They had to adapt to the environment in order to survive. And I think when Law was talking about not being traumatized, I think that is intergenerationally, because we have the same sentiment in reality. But I think we had so much traumatic shit happen before we were here that our DNA morphed into some form of being able to tolerate extremes that other people might not be able to tolerate. And based off of that, things that should be life altering sometimes can be brushed off easily based off of that. But there are things that linger that don't get talked about that still sit, you know what I'm saying, in your subconscious based off of what occurred in your DNA. I seen something that was saying like, and it's not just the idea of trauma, like it literally changes the genetic structure of your DNA. And we all know that DNA gets passed on from generation to generation. So yeah.
Yeah, and I often tell people, like, in order to understand yourself, you have to understand your family. Talk to the men in your family, because a lot of times we're going to go through psychological issues that the men in our family has passed down to us. And I notice that as a man, like a lot of the battles I try to, I go through, I talk to my uncles, and I'm like, damn, y'all doing the same shit. You go through the same thing. Like alcoholism gets passed down. A lot of men in my family smoke weed, and it's still hard for me till this day to not smoke weed. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like a lot of stuff, man, like even the most minuscule things get passed down. It's not even trauma. It's also habits. How we treat women, what we think about ourselves, our self-esteem, all of that.
Which is why, so yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think a lot of us in this generation have been trying to break. That's why it's such a big thing about breaking generational curses, breaking this, that, and the third. Like for me, one of the things that I wanted to ensure was the things that I suffer with from childhood, or the things I identified them. And somebody in the chat said earlier, when you're parenting, you reparent yourself. So the things that I'm troubleshooting for with my kids, I'm, you know what I'm saying, at the same time fixing my own issue while doing it. And like I definitely understand what you're saying about the trauma, the violence, or the anger, the ability to, you know what I'm saying, turn up. I see it in all my kids, and I'm trying to guide it into a positive metric so they don't like have no crash out moments. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you could see it. And my grandfather say he saw it in me, and the way we ended up in Chicago, my uncle killed this white man here down there. The first thing he said to me when I had my daughter, Wesley, don't kill nobody about your child. That was the very first thing. He didn't even say congratulations. He just like, don't kill nobody about your daughter. I'm like, I got you, Joe. I got you. Like, you see me. When I look at you, I see all of the generations. I don't just see you as an individual. I see your uncle, I see your father, I see me, I see your grandma, I see everybody in you, and all y'all. Y'all all been here before, because these personality traits ain't new to you. They came from somewhere. And by him being 90 years old, he can look at us and pinpoint who is who and what's what. Like the patterns that I say I could see, like in interactions with people, he can see them genetically, I guess he was saying. Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? You raised up, Kenny. I ain't know if you're about to come off mute or not.
Now it's good that the brothers up here being more transparent about the things that they're actually dealing with that weren't touched before. And we do have a responsibility, because this is King Talk, and there are people listening to us, and they do want to see that we identify with the things that they are also going through. Yeah, we human. Yeah, we shit on the toilet and it stink. Yeah, we go through our isms daily, and we just want to convey certain things that it's okay. Round it all about. If everybody has some kind of thing that they're dealing with, we're focusing on trauma. If you're going through something, go look up and get some help. Don't be ashamed of doing it. Don't stay in that rut. Again, I stress, it's okay to not be okay. It's not okay to stay there. We can all get up and do something about it.
Yo, Marcus, when you mentioned that police thing, that shit hit heavy. I'll say it like, when you see one, it's just an instinct, man. When y'all don't know if y'all ever played Need for Speed back in the day, like Need for Speed Underground, and then when you coming up on the police, it was like stop, and you hear that little thump, and then like kind of freezes. That's
the edge. Yeah.
Yo, that's how it be. And I'm like, I don't have no issues with my paperwork or nothing, but just, you know what it was. Like I was driving in the 90s, man, in Bergen County and all that, doing work. That wasn't no joke. Like that was like for nothing. As soon as you see the welcome sign, you was getting popped. That don't go away. So you be like, damn, is this dude follow me? That really hit, man. You can't. It's hard to shake that. And I'm not really scared of nothing. I'm not even worried about it. But it just bothers you as soon as you see, when you're like, damn, are they here for me? And you don't even got to be doing nothing at all. And that shit really hit, man.
Bro, I don't drive a car without, like, the entire time I'm in a vehicle, whether I'm driving or not, it's checking rearview mirrors. It's I notice every police car that's in my vicinity. If they can, you know what I'm saying? If I can see them, they can see me. You know what I'm saying? If they can, I'm telling you, I can spot one a mile away through traffic, whatever the case may be. And that's that's definitely a thing. You know what I'm
Y'all
saying?
must not have motorcycle cops in Chicago.
No, we got them in Texas, yeah.
Yeah, motorcycle cops, you ain't gonna never see their ass.
But see, this is the difference though, and this is something that I had to, like, I didn't understand until I moved away, right? People really only be worried about the cops in other places if they doing something wrong. Whereas here, you just know they're there and they could pull you over and get on bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I remember my uncle, he's from here, right? But he's been living in California for 20 plus years. And this particular day, this weekend, we were back in Chicago. I was living down south and was back for a family function. And he was here for a family function. And I had my partner with me who was from down south as well. And so we riding and we pull on the side of a police car, right? My uncle driving, I'm in the passenger seat, my boy in the back. And when we pull up, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling my uncle, I'm like, yo, chill. You know what I'm saying? The police right here. He talking crazy. Man, fuck them studs. They ain't on nothing. You know what I'm saying? Sherm, you already know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Man, they ain't on nothing. The light change. And what he do? He pull off first, y'all. He pull off first. It wasn't 2 seconds we was pulled over and stretched out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling him, I'm like, look, they gonna pull you over for being black. This ain't, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I was following all the rules. Nigga, they don't give a fuck. Not here. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about that. So yeah, he got reminded real quick. You know what I'm saying? But
Bro, Christmas Eve, I was driving down to St. Louis to visit my auntie. Now, I wasn't even driving. I actually was in the back seat. That's when my first child was born. She was like 4 months. We was taking them down there for Christmas, and my wife got pulled over. My grandma was in the front seat. I'm in the back seat with the baby. The officer was cool with them two women. She needed the insurance, so I'm like, I got it. He didn't know I was in the back seat because it's tents on the back window. So I passed them the insurance. He like, is somebody else in the car? She like, yeah, my husband and baby. She rolled. He was like, I need to see everybody. Can you roll the window down? When she rolled the window down, he seen my face. He drew his gun on me and the baby right here. As soon as I ain't do nothing, I'm not driving. The man just up his yeah. Now he need to see my ID, and it's a whole other thing with his gun drawn on my child. Bro, I almost spazzed out. For like a week after that, I wanted to go up to that police station and crash out, bro. Like this man done put the gun on my child. If you could like respawn,
what your uncle tell you? What your uncle tell you?
Which
first
one?
thing your first thing your uncle said when you had your child?
Yeah, don't kill no. My grandfather told me that. Don't kill nobody.
Grandfather, my bad. You did.
If we could respawn, I would have went in there. And man,
did you
the fact that you can't relive is the only reason that I ain't going to that police station.
Did you file a formal complaint?
No, I didn't.
No, don't ever let him get away with it. Never let him get away with it. That I don't play with. Once if you, I'm gonna listen. It's gonna go down how it's gonna go down. Me and whoever with me gonna make it out okay. But after that, that's gonna follow you throughout your career because you're gonna have a case on you. For that, them drawing a weapon wrongfully, you could have actually got some chicken for that. For real. Don't ever let them get away with it. That you got to hold them accountable because that's why they feel so comfortable doing it because, we don't retaliate and we don't have to be violent, but we get you with that paperwork and you go trying to give me a ticket. I'm messing with your career.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a trauma response because had my daughter not been in the car, I probably wouldn't have cared. To keep it like, because in the city, they jump out on you. Like you'll be walking down the street, they'll jump. Like the first time the police put a gun on me, I think I was like 12 or 13. They was lining the boys up across the street, and then I walk out the house, and then they throw me into they do this thing where they call jump out boys. I don't know if y'all got them in y'all city.
No, we got jump out boys. Yeah.
They'll line you up and then they search you if you got some drugs on you or guns. They just whoever like in the area, they'll just grab and put on the wall. And they holding you at gunpoint while they do that shit. That's why like I used to like when they ass get killed, I'd be laughing and you know what I'm saying? Like fuck them people.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna go ahead and close this on out, man. We definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Let's also make sure we keep Jay, Jerry, a story to tell. His sister passed away. So I've been in contact with him.
Who that?
Jay, a story to tell. Come on the Sunday show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his sister passed away. So just make sure if you guys do pray, make sure you keep him and his family in prayer. But I've been with him the whole entire time and just making sure he was good. We don't always have the right words to say, but just knowing that support is there and that outlet is there, I think they appreciate that. So let's make sure we keep our brother uplifted in prayer. And just to kind of close out a little bit, man, your partner choice reveals everything. I think it does. I think anybody in your life that you surround yourself with is important. But if you are going to choose to do life with somebody, you want to make sure that they're not draining you mentally and that your peace is intact. And I think you need to probably vet properly to make sure you have somebody that's understanding and willing, and that has your best interests. Kind of recognize and listen to the people around you. You ain't got to do what somebody say, but if enough people telling you one thing and you choosing not to ignore it, then it's probably on you. There may be some truth to it. So always consider what people are saying if a bunch of people are saying it. I know a lot of us just walking. We like the walking dead out here. People telling us all the signs and we just don't see a problem or issue. We think it's everybody else. So let's make sure we are self-aware. And if you do have some trauma, make sure y'all situate that because y'all trauma do bleed over into your children and bleed over into everybody else's life. Some people don't really got time to keep trying to heal you. You got to try to get some help for yourself because everybody trying to live their own their own lives. They can't worry about everybody else, especially grown folks. But if you do got somebody that's caretaking grown folks, then salute to you. You are considered lucky. With that being said, that like button, also make sure you subscribe to the channel and catch us on the next King Talk. We out.